5 Performing habits of highly productive teams. What makes some teams perform well and others poorly are not necessarily due to greater team member talent, better resources, or luck. What is critical is to determine which teams have the most talented team members and the best resources. It is not about being better skilled or having more resources. What makes a great team is its habits and practices. It's critical to have a powerful work culture, support from leaders in the organization, and clarity of vision and goals, but they're not enough to drive excellence and high performance in teams. Be sure to not only hire the right people but also equip them with the right opportunities and instill the right habits into daily work and life. Here are 5 characteristics of highly successful teams. Using premortem technique, they make better decisions. It's hard to make good decisions. In hindsight, an ill-fated choice appears obvious. The high-performing teams do not make bad decisions or remain free from failure. What makes them stand out is the practice they adopt to combat cognitive biases and reduce project risk at the start. They use premortem analysis to understand the consequences, anticipate failures, and find solutions. Promortem is a proactive risk assessment and problem-solving method created by Gary Klein. It enables you to identify potential problems and obstacles before they become catastrophes. It is as follows. To effectively recover from a false start, you should avoid them in the first place. A premortem is one of the best techniques for doing that. Good performers don't always make the best choices. They just avoid obvious and bad choices. They commit to being wrong instead of compromising on their differences. A healthy team, compared to an unhealthy one, can openly disagree and remain united. When team members agree to disagree, they adopt a negative mindset. Instead of accepting that it's not about right versus wrong, us versus them, agreeing to disagree makes them adopt dismissive behavior and ignore the decision. They become non-committal, which prevents them from providing the necessary assistance to others. Group members who hold agree to disagree mindsets are sabotaging the purpose of the group by keeping each other engaged and challenged. Disagreeing and committing, on the other hand, is part of a person's identity and are capable of disconnecting them from their ideas and other people. It is therefore important to maintain unity and maturity to disconnect their identity from their ideas and people to support them even when they do not share their views. It is not a circumstance in which they disagree or ignore the importance of their opinion, but it is a guide to help them decide when to work with others rather than against them. Instead of engaging in a personal crusade to defeat the other party to win the discussion, high-quality team members value other people's insights and approach them with respect. When something does not go as expected, on the contrary, instead of agreeing to disagree, they argue and make a choice. We tend to believe that we are objective when we look at the world, but that is not the case. We perceive the world, not as it is, but as we are, or, as we are conditioned to do so. When we describe what we see, we describe ourselves, our perspectives, and our paradigms. When other people disagree with us, we assume they are wrong because we instantly perceive some kind of flaw in them. But, as the demonstration demonstrates, sincere, thoughtful people perceive things differently, each looking through a unique lens of experience. High-performing team members disagree and commit by. A team that performs well commits 100% of the time and supports every view. To give and get feedback, they are very aware of their behavior. People who don't receive feedback generally suffer from the same ailment, dumping the entire burden of giving the right kind onto the feedback giver. They assume that others are vague, dishonest, or unwilling to pass on feedback, which makes them ignore the importance of their contribution. Without timely feedback, they cannot learn what they need to improve, and they cannot get better. A high-performing team encourages and receives feedback. Because they constantly receive feedback and advice from other members and do not hesitate to give feedback to other members, they ensure that everyone is constantly learning and growing. Sharing feedback with other team members ensures that they learn and grow themselves, in the self-perpetuating cycle of learning and growth. The act of creating pull is about mastering the necessary abilities to drive our learning. It is about how to recognize and interact with our resistance, how to participate in constructive feedback conversations with interest and confidence, and even when the feedback seems undesirable, how to find new knowledge that might help us grow. It is also about how to stand up for what we stand for and how to deal with issues in the world. It is about how to learn from feedback, whether it is erroneous, unfair, or poorly delivered. High-performing team members take full responsibility for giving and getting feedback, believing that they have the power to drive their development at work rather than blaming someone else for not moving forward. They use a high agency to deal with new problems and opportunities. To achieve goals, high-agency individuals attempt to achieve them without waiting for the environment to be perfect or for circumstances to be present. They either force their way or find a way. Without conditions, high agency is the ability to shape your life through one's efforts, rather than depending on external factors, conditions, and environment to determine what is and is not possible. High agency people don't take into account other people's boundaries, as their boundaries fit inside of a box based on what others think is possible. Instead, they extend their boundaries of influence, navigate the uncharted region, and succeed because it is now time for them to do so. Many things can go wrong at work: conflicting priorities, unknown problems, the uncertainty of decisions, misalignment of expectations, communication gaps, unrealistic deadlines, and more. It is critical not to assume that other people are the cause of one's difficulties when dealing with crime. It is critical to find solutions and move on rather than assuming that other people are to blame. The high-performing team members do not engage in such conduct. They take responsibility for both their experience and their outcomes. What differentiates them from other people is the fact that they are able to turn adversity into opportunity. They are the ones who are driven to look for solutions, not complain about the problems. They feel disappointed when they fail or make mistakes, but they don't let that disappointment stop them from moving forward or making progress. In Jim Dethmer's book The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership, taking radical responsibility is described as taking radical responsibility. He says that when we blame ourselves and locate the cause of our lives outside ourselves, we locate it inside ourselves when we take responsibility. Learning is an important part of their lives. Working conditions constantly demand new abilities, new responsibilities, and new methods of procedure. Becoming a career expert is possible inside the comfort zone, doing things that come naturally or that appear less strenuous. However, it also limits career success. Having the security of experiencing the discomfort that comes from embracing unfamiliarities is essential for career growth. In addition to being unable to deal with complexity, career learners cannot learn how to navigate them or gain the resilience to deal with them. That's why high-performing teams are skilled at it. They seek out new challenges, tackle new problems, and build on their existing skills. Learning is a top priority for them, not only to help them turn hurdles into opportunities but also to reduce their stress and anxiety. No matter how skilled or strong an individual is, there is no way he or she will ever stop consciously conditioning and strengthening their habits. Just as athletes never quit training, high performers never stop unconsciously conditioning and strengthening their habits. The journey to greatness doesn't begin with doing what is natural, certain, convenient, or automatic. When our preferences for comfort and security are overridden by a greater purpose that requires challenge and contribution, our current skills and strengths may not be adequate to get us to the next level of greatness, so it's not worthwhile to pay attention to our weaknesses, develop new strengths, try new habits, stretch beyond what we currently know or are capable of. Subscribe for more.